Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're unpacking quite a stack of documents. We've got excerpts from a company profile, some articles, Commercial Times, Economic Daily.
Yeah, and a cross-border e-commerce newsletter mentioned too.
Right. And it all points to one company, Hencolin Co., Ltd. Maybe not a household name, but, well, their work seems pretty foundational.
Absolutely. They're based in Taiwan and they specialize in air filters. Think of them as the hidden protectors of clean air in really critical places.
So our mission today isn't just, reading off facts. We want to pull out the key insights.
Get a real picture of who Hencolin is.
Exactly. Their journey, what they make, their market position, both at home and globally.
And how they operate, their sustainability efforts, the whole package.
Yeah, think of this as your quick guide to a fascinating company in a vital, maybe overlooked industry.
And there are some genuinely interesting bits in here. The origin of their name, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
And their massive domestic market share, plus how they're expanding worldwide.
Okay, let's start there. The beginnings. Hencolin, established 1990 in Pingtung, Taiwan.
That's right. The profile even gives a specific street address in Pingtung City.
But they weren't making filters right away, were they?
No, interestingly, the timeline shows they actually started out importing filters, acting as an agent.
Ah, so they learned the market first.
Exactly. Be a feel for quality, standards, before jumping into manufacturing themselves.
Smart. And then they transitioned, built their own factory, established the Hencolin brand.
Right. And expanded their capabilities. We see notes about cleanroom equipment setup, even moving into B2B e-commerce relatively early.
And that led to some significant wins.
Definitely. The sources mentioned becoming a qualified supplier for some big international names, Abbott and Canada Pharma.
That's major in pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, and a Japanese power plant, too. More recently, getting on board with Grainger, the huge industrial supplier.
Wow, okay. That's serious validation. The founder is Mr. Hung Yu Kai, and the name, Hencolin.
Yeah, this is that touching detail. It's not technical. It's from his kids' names, Henry and Colin.
Really?
Yeah. The company says it symbolizes their commitment to protecting the breathing environment for the next generation. Gives it a very personal mission.
So a company built on this personal ideal, growing strategically, making filters.
Yeah.
But not just any filters.
No, definitely not just your basic furnace filter. Their main range covers initial, medium, and high-efficiency filters.
What does that mean in practice? Efficiency levels?
It's about particle capture size, so G4 filters for general HVAC up through H14 for much finer filtration.
And the really high-end stuff, HEPA and ULPA.
Exactly. HEPA, you might know from good home air purifiers, but ULPA, that goes even further, capturing incredibly tiny particles.
Like bacteria, viruses.
Yes, and microscopic dust, things that could ruin, say, a semiconductor wafer or contaminate a sterile drug. They also do activated carbon filters for gases and odors and larger bag filters.
Okay, so who needs that level of purity?
Well, the client list tells the story. High tech, like semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, food processing.
Healthcare, chemical plants.
Heavy industry, too. Basically, anywhere clean rooms or highly controlled industrial HVAC systems are essential.
So these filters aren't just about comfort. They're critical for processes and safety.
Absolutely. Protecting products, protecting people, ensuring sensitive processes aren't compromised.
Okay, they make these critical components.
Yeah.
How do they fare in the market? You mentioned their domestic strength.
Yeah, it's pretty staggering. The sources state they hold an 80% market share in Taiwan.
80%, that's dominant.
It really is. Suggests incredible trust built up over their 30-plus years.
That kind of track record, that market share, it implies more than just selling a product.
Right. They're providing solutions. They emphasize their integrated capability, handling everything in-house. Design, manufacturing, shipment.
And they back it with certifications.
A whole list. ASHRAE E52.2, EN779, UL, ISO 9001, Eurovent 2. These aren't just badges. They're proof of performance against tough international standards.
And I saw something interesting. They're already adopting the next big standard, ISO 16890, by getting the testing gear now, even though it's for 2025.
Exactly. That kind of forward thinking, plus their custom design ability, quick delivery, stable quality. That's why these high-end clients trust them, both in Taiwan and overseas.
They actually summarized their edge, didn't they? 4 points.
Yeah. International certifications, getting ahead with ISO 16890 testing, their OEM plus their own brand, and that deep 30-plus years of experience for consulting.
Okay, so strong base at home, The logical next step is global,
And the numbers show they're making real progress there.
exporting to 22 countries already. And the export ratio, it's climbed from 33% in 2022 to over 36% in 2024.
Yeah, that's a clear upward trend. Successful expansion.
Where are these exports heading?
The 2024 data shows key markets like Australia, the US, the Philippines, each taking a decent chunk.
And growth in other areas.
Yep, steady growth mentioned for Japan, Singapore, the Middle East. It's pretty widespread.
So how are they achieving this? What's the strategy?
They call it a certification plus local agent plus project development model.
Okay, break that down.
So certifications get them in the door, local agents provide that crucial on-the-ground knowledge, and focusing on projects likely means leveraging their custom design capabilities.
Makes sense. And they're using digital too.
Right. Multi-language, social media, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc., plus website SEO to boost visibility and presumably generate leads and orders globally.
And we see specific customer names again. Granger in the US, Rainbow Filters in Australia.
RTM Trade in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Plus end users like GlaxoSmithKline, Dole.
Yeah.
It shows reach across different industries and regions.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Inside Hencolin, how do they run the place?
The documents describe it as very systematic, data-driven.
They use an ERP system.
Yeah, enterprise resource planning basically connects everything. Procurement, production, warehousing, finance. Allows for tight control and tracking.
And does it work? What are the results?
Well, they report over 98% on-time delivery.
Pretty good.
And a quality pass rate above 99.5%. They even mention internal tracking, video recording tests. They seem serious about consistency.
Financially.
Stable. Total revenue mentioned over NTD 188 million recently. Solid output per employee too. Suggests decent efficiency and profitability. And what about the team itself?
Seems quite stable. Low turnover noted. Average tenure over 9 years. That usually points to a decent working environment.
What about HR practices?
Regular training is mentioned safety, of course, but also introducing ESG concepts like carbon footprints. They encourage collaboration, improvement ideas.
And diversity.
Yeah, that stood out. 65% female employees. And they actively hire older technicians valuing experience.
That's interesting.
Plus things like flexible work hours, short-term support staff to help with work-life balance.
Okay, all that flows nicely into this big theme in the sources. ESG, environmental, social, governance.
Right. It seems to be a growing focus for them. Their motto is steady transformation, implementing sustainability.
Sounds deliberate. Is it just talk? Doesn't seem like it. They've got a structured plan, short, medium, long-term goals out to 2028 and beyond across E, S, and G.
Okay, environmental first. What are they doing?
A key step was participating in a government net zero transformation diagnosis project back in 2023.
So they got expert advice.
Yeah, they did a carbon inventory, got specific reduction recommendations from ITRI and Industrial Research Institute.
And potential.
Almost 190 tons of CO2 equivalent reduction per year identified.
Ow.
Plans include upgrading equipment, LED lighting, variable frequency compressors, chillers, the usual energy hogs, and importantly, expanding solar.
They already have solar.
Oh, yeah. A pretty big 465 kilowatt system. That alone is estimated to cut over 160 tons of CO2e annually.
That's substantial for their own footprint.
And here's where their products can come back in. They're developing filters designed to help their customers save energy.
Awesome.
Lower pressure drop filters, less energy needed to push air through them, plus modular replaceable designs to cut down on waste.
So the filter itself becomes part of the client's energy solution.
Exactly. And that big investment in ISO 16890 testing equipment, that ties in too.
By ensuring filters meet the latest efficiency standards.
Right. Providing more efficient, longer-lasting filters helps their customers meet their own ESG targets. They have a quote about sustainability starts from the source.
Clever. Okay, social. We touched on some of this with HR.
Yeah, a lot of it is covered there. Employee care, safety, diversity, flexible work, health checks, welfare committee. Seems quite comprehensive.
And governance, G in ESG.
That ERP system provides a base for transparency and efficiency. A key short-term goal is supplier ESG self-assessment.
Looking upstream then.
Exactly. Planning to move towards a code of conduct and maybe even joint reduction projects with suppliers later. They also aim for over 65% local procurement.
Which helps with the supply chain carbon footprint.
Right. The sources list a lot of practical implementations: gender equality, flexible hours, employee welfare, hiring older workers, the green energy efforts. It feels grounded.
Underlying all this must be their manufacturing tech.
For sure. Automated production lines, profession testing gear.
The documents mention specific machines, metal processing, folding, assembly for different filter types.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of the specialized processes involved.
And the testing is key, right?
Yeah.
PAO leak testers, airflow measurement.
Crucial for ensuring these filters perform as specified, especially when you're talking about HEPALPA levels. And again, that ISO 16890 upgrade reinforces that quality focus.
It all seems connected to the tech, the quality, efficiency, supporting client sustainability.
It really does paint a picture of an integrated approach.
Finally, they aren't completely unknown, are they? Media mentioned.
No, they've popped up in Taiwanese outlets like Commercial Times, Liberty Times, and those industry newsletters.
And a local official visited.
Yeah, a former Pingtung County magistrate back in 2019 shows some local recognition.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive on Hencolin.
It's been quite a journey to unpack.
Yeah, we've seen this company, born from a really personal vision about clean air for kids,
Evolved strategically from an importer to a dominant force in Taiwan.
and now making steady inroads onto the global stage, supplying critical components to industries that absolutely depend on air purity.
Their strengths seem clear: specialized knowledge, custom solutions, that certified quality.
And this increasingly serious practical commitment to ESG.
Right, embedding sustainability into how they operate and what they make.
And bringing this back to you, the listener, this dive really shows how vital these specialized manufacturers are.
Yeah, industries we rely on every day: chips, medicines, food. They depend on components like Hencolin's filters, often completely unseen by us.
It also shows how a company making, well, filters is tackling really complex modern issues.
Market dominance, global expansion, technical standards, digital transformation, environmental responsibility, it's all in there.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. How much of the safety and quality around you, maybe even the environmental impact of things you use, how much of that rests quietly on companies like Hencolin?
And how do their practical steps on sustainability, saving energy in their factory, designing more efficient filters, how does that contribute almost invisibly to those larger global efforts we hear so much about?